something special today because of the tennis incident. In case there's a voice in your head asking, another random guy talking about this? This guy in the corner was me competing in tennis in college over 20 years ago. Allow me to quickly talk through a bit of technical side of things so everybody can understand what we are going to look at. This footage I got directly from Tennis TV on YouTube. It's 29.97 frames per second, pretty standard. So when I say we're looking at this case frame by frame, we're actually seeing things that are happening in 0.03 seconds in a single frame. But things happen in tennis way faster than that. If you have watched the Olympics, you know even 0.01 second is a lot. It's common in tennis for a ball to travel 100 kilometers per hour. That means 1,666 meters per minute, 27.8 meters per second, and almost 1 meter per frame at the frame rate that we set. So that's why we see motion blur and ball trails in other slow motion videos and still images of this case if you have watched. That won't change in what we are going to see, as that's the technical limitation captured from the source. However, we can analyze these differently. Besides frame rate, another issue is a panning camera. We can tell that looking at the text of the brand moving in the background, that's also going to impact our visual judgment because of the relative motion to the ball and the player. That's why I've used the Hollywood-class professional software called Nuke on what you're going to see. Nuke is the software that's being used to create whatever superhero, natural disasters, actually almost any movies and TV series with visual effects that we watch. I've stabilized the footage to eliminate the impact of the camera motion on our judgment. So here we go. I'll move it frame by frame so you can judge with your own eyes. First, the ball came into sight of the camera, then the contact, and then the ball went out. Everything happened in a matter of 3 frames. That is less than 0.1 second. If you have been playing any ball games, you know it's mostly a combination of surface, friction, and force. The contact surface affects the direction of movement post-contact. Friction affects how much things slow down and how much spin being created after contact. And force determines how quickly the ball travels along the direction, as well as how quickly it spins after contact. And in this particular case, we can tell the possible sequence of events happened simply by looking at it from the surface and force perspectives. You may ask, why do we not look at it simply from the trajectory perspective? We can explore for sure. I've done this for you, and we will explain why it's not 100% reliable. First, the ball came in. The green trajectory looks like if there was no interruption, the ball would hit the ground about 1 foot from the tee, where the green line shows. The blue line was where Draper planted his foot. We know once the foot is planted, it's not going to move crazy like the racket or the hand. So this can be a good reference point for us. When we move to the next frame, we'll see what the red line is about. For now, we just need to know it does not align with the trail of the ball. So here in the next frame, we already see the ball hit the ground. And there are a lot of arguments online about this particular image. Can we really conclude that looking at the color lines, where there seems to be an interruption preventing the ball to hit where the green line projected, it's because the ball contacted Jack Draper's racket? I would say we cannot be 100% sure because the 3 color lines I have drawn are only in the 2-dimensional space, and we're dealing with a 3-dimensional problem. If you have watched the Twisters recently, you will have remembered those scientists were trying to do a 3D scan of the tornado. It's of similar reason. So with the heavy motion blur, low frame rate, 2-dimensional images, is this really a deadlock situation that leads to only subjective arguments that we see everywhere on YouTube, X, Instagram, etc.? I'll provide a few clues here and see whether they make sense to you too. First, remember I mentioned in the beginning, the tennis ball is traveling at around 1 meter per video frame. That motion blur can be a curse and a blessing at the same time for our analysis. since the ball wasn't dropping vertically. This frame here should at least show one of the two scenarios. 1. It was right at the moment the ball touched the ground, before hitting the racket. If that's the case, there would be a trail showing where the ball was coming from before it hit the ground. But we do not see that, so this is likely not that moment. 2. If it was after the ball touched the ground, then we should see a trail leading from the ground to the ball, but we do not see that either. Also, it's clearly below Jack Draper's racket level. So according to what the umpire described what he saw, it would be the moment before the ball hits the racket. But is this really the case? What we see here is somewhat similar to a vertical trail or motion blur, which is neither of the earlier two scenarios. And this is weird based on the traveling path of the ball and the camera angle if there was nothing that touched the ball changing its path. At this point, however, the argument is not still very solid, because the evidence isn't 100% clear. But if we move on to the next few frames, the answer will become clearer. Let's look at what happened again. When the ball started to go up, but focus on the racket this time, we can see the head of the racket almost has no forward and upward motion until the ball was leaving Jack Draper. Actually, I would argue the racket was going a bit backward because Jack Draper was opening his wrists, as we see more of the racket face. If the ball really hit the ground and then the frame of the racket, as the umpire described.
So I ruled that the ball bounced and hit it off the frame over the net completely.
Described. With a racket that has almost no forward and upward motion at the moment of contact. Standing far at the tee spot, the ball wouldn't have that much force to head outward and backward to Felix's side of the court. If the umpire said the ball hit the string instead, not the frame, I would say there may be a chance that the bouncy strings might have given the ball the force, but this was not the case, according to what the umpire said. And I don't know why the umpire can be so sure the ball hit the frame but not the strings, while we can't even tell in slow motion where or what the ball hit. Maybe he heard the sound? And here comes the crucial part of this analysis, the final trajectory of the ball. I have combined the movements so it's easier for everybody. Thanks to the stabilization technology, we can see the ground and signboard relatively static, while there's parallax for the audience at the far end, so we know it's normal that they will be a little bit blurry. Let's get back to the ball. We can see how low it came in and how high it left. It reached a point above Jack Draper's height that he had to look up to follow the ball. As we can see, there was almost no upward motion at Jack Draper's hand during the possible moment of contact. Combine that with a low entry angle, I don't really see how they can create a high exit angle with forward motion. We can probably get one of those two, but likely not both under this setting. What's left is the most likely scenario, where the ball hit the outside of the frame of the racket that was facing the ground. And it has to be the front side, so the curvature of the frame gives the surface that bounced the ball to the ground towards Felix's side, not the back side that would bounce the ball towards Jack. This at the same time seemed to match what we see, no horizontal trail of the ball in this image, but only vertical one. And then the ball bounced up from the ground, so we see that high trajectory. And the ball continued with that forward and upward motion towards the net and finally came down to hit it. If you have been wondering why Felix and some of the pros as well as people online saying Jack should know as he should be able to feel even if he wasn't looking at the ball, here's why. The ball was incoming at a low angle. If it hit the ground first and then the racket, Jack would have felt a bit of backward and downward force, as the ball would have to eventually go forward and upward. Yes, sorry for a little bit of physics over here. If the ball hits his racket first and then the ground, he would still feel the backward force, but this time an upward toss instead of downward, as the ball will have to head downwards towards the ground. Hope this helps you understand why, as the player contacting the ball, one should be able to tell. I'm sure you have also seen a lot of criticisms towards the umpire and Jack. But Jack, He did say he will replay the point if the umpire said so. And looking at the footage, he did seem think he has won, picking out the ball from his pocket even before the umpire was making the fair shot call. It seems to me he wasn't having the question about how he hit the ball in his mind at all. So it comes down to the umpire that stayed firm on his judgment.
But did you not see the ball bounce on the floor?
It bounced on the court and then over.
On the floor.
Like after he hit it?
He shanked it on the floor. What do you mean?
I didn't see that.
He shanked it on the floor.
I did not see that.
And you're gonna.
I saw it come off the frame and over.
Can we blame him on that? I'm not so sure. If he believed in what he saw, then he wasn't wrong in maintaining his call. That's the job of an umpire. The potential flaw here is whether what he saw was actually what happened. If that kind of moment can be judged by human eyes without doubt, we wouldn't need the technology to help at the finish lines in the Olympics or the goal line technology for football or soccer. If you have come across cognitive science, you would have already known we humans are flawed, and overconfidence in human beings has been a finding from studies for decades. To avoid such unhappy experience in the future, it's best to implement the technology that's already available to assist in these critical situations. I don't think Felix will be watching this, but I'm saying this to him anyway. On the spot, at the ground where no video playback was available, his composure has been well recognized given the picture he saw and how the match ended. I believe that composure will help him move further up in his career ladder. And this was the clip of Roger Federer popped up in my mind as soon as I saw this case.
Oh, good reflexes. Now Federer doesn't think he's made it.
Yeah, but for me, it looks like he came under with the racket.
Yeah, I know, but the ball can bounce that topspin way. It's the only way you can push it down into the court first.
For me, it looks like he came just under. Probably I missed it, but for me, it was like that, Roger.
I agree, it was close.
Said the type of spin on the ball meant that it has to be a double bounce because there's topspin on that.
Well, not a double bounce, but the ball's hit down into the ground first, and then it's coming up.
These things happen to champions. Thank you for joining me at IntelliWorks. Hope to explore interesting things in life with you and see you again soon.